All right, guys, this has a better than even chance of turning into a hot mess. I bought this from a locksmith on eBay. All I really saw was it's a Kaba lock. It didn't really show the keyway or anything like that. When I got it in the mail, the guy included a note that said, if your eBay username is anything close to your YouTube username, I pinned this one up special for you. So this is what we're looking at, guys. Couple of things. First of all, and I didn't realize this one has probably a passive pin on the side, probably for key control, but I don't know that for sure. The other thing, when you look at this keyway, it is absolutely awesome. Even our fiber optic scope's not going to be getting up inside of there. And so this has been in the naughty bucket for a while, as you can imagine, because I really didn't have any picks that could get up in there and get access to those pins, particularly if they were going to be cut very high, like we know they are. So anyway, I dug it out, started looking at the whole concept of what new tools do I have that might help me out, and I came across a couple here. These are by Rare Elements, and one of these is a 13,000th, and when I tried him in there a little while ago, it looks like he's going to fit. He drags just a little bit, but it's not too bad, and unless it gets a lot worse as we get near the rear, I think that might work. If not, I have another Rare Elements. This one is pretty much the same pick, except only 10,000ths. And he does definitely fit up in there, but I'm not going to be able to, because it's only 10,000ths, I'm not going to be able to put a lot of pressure. I really don't know. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of weird springs. I think he just gave me some exceptional bitting. I hope that's the limit of it. Anyway, this is definitely a lesson on I need to change my eBay username to something that doesn't sound so much like my YouTube name. Let me clamp it up and see if we can evict this guy from the naughty bucket. All right, got it clamped, got a line drawn, and lock works beautifully. What an awesome key. All right, for tensioner, I am going to be using one of the new multi-picks that I got in. This is the SP12, the thinnest one in their collection, and I chose it because it fits perfect. And I've decided to use the 10,000ths as well instead of the 13th. 13ths were dragging a little bit, so I'll start out with the 10s, and then if I can't, because of spring tension or whatever, then I'll have to move to the 13ths. But why start out with something from the beginning that's dragging, right? All right, I'm going to try to rake up a fault set. I don't even know if they put security pins in here. I do suspect they do, because when I looked at this key, by the way, they call this the pExtra. That's the series. But more importantly, just to the left, I don't know if you can make it out, it looks like the GeGe symbol from those GeGe locks that always have nasty keyways and always have these weird security pins that don't have a normal name like spool or serrated. It's just a bunch of sharp edges designed to grab and get trapped. And if this is made with Kaba Precision with GeGe pins, then we may not see an open today. All right, I like the 10,000ths. We are not dragging on the warding. 13th wasn't bad. 13,000ths wasn't bad, but this has no dragging. I have very light tension on this thing. There we go. That was pin 6. And I bet there is something in here security-wise, because this is like trying to pick a bucket of BBs. You can hear stuff grinding in there. And I'm not getting any direct feedback. All right, let's uncock it. I'm going to start out, look at the flexing of that tensioner. I'm going to apply what I'm going to term heavy tension and see if maybe we can have slightly different attack on it. That was pin 2. I got no give on the core. And it feels like pin 5 is all the way on the bottom. He just gave me a click. Still got super heavy tension on it. I'm going to back off a little bit. There we go. Again, no turn on the core, so I don't know if that actually picked him or if it just got him extra stuck in a trap. Okay, that was pin 4. I did feel a very slight turn on the core there. That was pin 1. Felt a click and a very slight turn on the core. And the pin is stuck, or the pick is stuck behind, there we go. Behind pin 5, it felt like. I won't mess with him. That was a click on 3. And there we go. And I can't explain why, guys. And he's stuck again. There we go. A nasty keyway, and I got a feeling we're going to find some nasty pins. And more importantly, we're going to find out just how lucky I probably was to get into this thing, because I got like no feedback out of him. All right, so we need a tray. This guy already laid out and ready in anticipation. We know the key works, so let me lock him back up and pull this guy off. And just launched him across the bench. Okay, there we go. Let's line up the correct follower first. That ought to be him. I am going to put a shim in him. So let's get those guys ready. I'll probably have to because of the cross cut here. What in the world? He got caught there for a second, but now he's okay. All right, let's turn him like that. And let's put a shim in him. Man, that's really tight. It's like he doesn't even want to go in there. All right, I think I've reduced all the risk I can. Let's just go for it. All right, what do we got here? We got our nice, we knew it was high quality. We got some carbide inserts there. Arg. Something just fell out on my finger, and right there he is. He's the side pin, so let's just set him right there. He was down here. It looks like it lines up with the hole in the key right there. So if, we'll look at the core in a minute, but if he had been pushed out, because the key didn't have that hole drilled in it, that little sharp edge right there probably would have been driven into a hole that's in the core. They just want to make sure you're using the key from the right source. So we didn't have to pick him. I don't see too much else. We'll look at him in a minute. He doesn't look like he's ready to fall out. Let's dump these guys. We got a standard. There are anti drills popping out. Standard, and a standard. There is a groove. I don't know if you guys can see this. There is a groove on the top of each of these. Not a deep groove, just a little guy, but he's definitely there on, not number 1, but on the other 5. They all have a very, very slight undercut. There's nothing here in the key pins that would have grabbed on those undercuts, though. But let's see if they put something upstairs that would have. I'd be disappointed if they didn't. I'm going to put this up just a little bit so I can hold this at a little bit more comfortable angle. All right, we do have a sharp edge here. I would call him a tiny spool. Number 2 is a steel pin, and he looks to be standard. No grooves at all. Number 3, again, a tiny spool with some very sharp edges on him. Number 4. A standard pin under a lot of tension. I'm trying to look through the camera lens. I don't think there's any cuts on him. That's just a reflection. So it's a standard driver, I'm pretty sure. Even at this angle, it looks like there was a groove, but there's not. There's nothing on him. It's just a reflection from the beveled edge. Standard. Let's flip them over. Take a look. Number 6. Number 6 is a double. This is a barrel pin. Put them right there so you can see them a little better. I think we got it to focus. And we don't need that stinking spring. And the last one, and again, a very sharp but very tiny little spool. These spools, that probably explains why there was no counter rotation. There's just not enough room in there to allow the core to offset to give you that counter rotation. Okay. Get that other spring here. Set him up there. All right, if you look on the side of this guy, you notice that there are 6 cuts, 6 holes. 5 holes drilled in the side of this core, and that's to trap this little guy. Now let's get the core and take a look at what happens here. Let me dump these out. So let's put him in the correct hole first. We're going to put him in there just like that. Maybe the other way around, Bill. All right, so when the correct key is in, if I can get them lined up, come on, come on. This is one of those keys you can only do it with your right hand, I guess. There are so many little pieces of warding, and they're so fine, it's really hard to get it to line up. All right, so here's what it looks like. If there's a hole in the key in the right spot, this is completely flush. You get nothing. But if there is not a hole or a dent cut into it, notice how that guy sticks up a little bit past the shear line there? Well, when he's sticking up past that shear line, you can pick all those 6 pins all day long, much as you want. But that little nub is then sticking right there inside of one of those holes that it's not intended to. And that's going to keep you from rotating or tensioning that core. That's all it is. That's a passive pin. You do not have to pick him when you're, in fact, don't touch him when you're picking this lock. Anyway, guys, there you go. Let me get this guy up here one more time. They always bounce where you don't want them to. And I'll show you what the keys look like, or what the pins look like. There's your pinning from the Kaba pExtra / GeGe. I really don't know who made the innards on this thing, but it wasn't an easy pick. There's that piece. Hold on. Stand by here just a second. This fell out of this side. So what does he do? Okay, he was rotated around the other way. Get around there. So he fits in there like so. I'm really not seeing what he does. There's no cut on the key. And I really don't see that even protruding down inside of the keyway. Well, he definitely does something, but he's not doing anything that I can determine. When I look in the core, there are holes cut on both sides of this core, probably because they had to drill it all the way through. But those holes are too small for this big plug to go into. So I can't imagine what he does other than fall out and confuse the heck out of me. You guys got any ideas, man? Put them in the comments, but I don't see, there's no spring action on him or anything like that. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay legal, and I really got to change my eBay name now. Thanks, guys.
What?